All right, this is Crash Canon. I'm Chris, and I've got yet another guest today. Elijah, tell everybody who you are.
Yeah, what's up, guys? So my name's Elijah Schaffer, and I'm just figuring out who I am, to be completely honest. It's sad, but I'm 32 years old, and I think I've built an entire personality and life, affluence. Some would say below average looks, but I can't help that. But I built it all sort of on being a person that I don't believe God designed me to be. And I'm trying to figure out what part of who I am is God's design. What part of who I am is God's design expressing itself through my experience, then through the consequences of sin. And then what parts are really just my carnality, and things that don't need to be there, right? What part of me, no matter how much it's a part of my personality, what needs to go? And so if you're not familiar, I'm a below average, some say almost mediocre podcast host. Sometimes a dozen or more people watch my content, so that's cool. Shout out to everyone in the chat, Moose, Knuckle, Munitions, and the rest of you guys who are there. And I appreciate everybody watching the show. And I'm hoping that whatever we're discussing today, that people would realize that God is so capable of saving us from ourselves, and in such a real way that I think as we open up, I didn't think I could really find God, and I didn't think that it was possible. And I did sort of challenge God to, like, Lord, if you're real and if you really can save me, reveal yourself to me. And I didn't wait. I started planting seeds, but I know that I watered those seeds and I started working, and I didn't feel, I didn't see, I didn't sense, I didn't smell, right? But I at one moment I saw the plant burst from the dirt of the death that I've been feeling in my life. And man, I've been real dirty. I've been very degenerate for a lot of decades, and to see the fact of life come out. I'm just happy to be here, and I'm shocked. It's like the second or third faith-based podcast I've been on. And if you told me 6 months ago I'd be on a faith-based podcast, I probably would have laughed at you, and I probably thought it was funny. But now it's like, I mean this respectfully, this is a new show. It's growing. I'm very excited about it, but I'm not really concerned about saying yes or no to a place to be on based upon its numbers, or, how rich someone is, or how much clout I can get. It's more like God. I feel like God wanted us to meet, man. So thanks for inviting me on.
Absolutely, Elijah. That was a really interesting intro because I actually don't know what your faith life looked like growing up, and we're definitely going to get into that. It's been interesting watching you kind of talk about orthodoxy and Catholicism on Twitter, on X, or whatever you want to call it these days. I do see the Orthodox cross going on there, at least an Eastern cross, depending, because the Byzantine Catholics use it as well. Got a lot of icons going on there. Good stuff. So I guess let's start with this, Elijah. When did you? It's funny because we're actually the same age. Did you know that?
32, yeah.
Yeah, we're the same age.
Sick, dude.
Yeah, I'm turning 33 in December, so I don't know which one of us is older, but that's kind of funny.
No, dude, but hey, you know what's good, man? Because you look my age, and I mean this like out of total coolness. I was telling someone this, people say our parents looked a lot older than us, and I'm like, no, they were just, like, to put it in millennial terms, they were adulting from a young age. And when you adult, right, it's the stupidest phrase, but like when you act like an adult, when you aren't raising doggies, like when you have children and you work a real job, and you're trying to do something with your life. And even worse, you know what ages you? Having a woman live in your house voluntarily. Imagine that. Voluntarily having a female live in your house full time. That'll age you. So no, but I mean, like, genuinely, it's like a lot of young people are like, you're so old, and I'm like, yeah, I do look a little bit old, but when you have the experience of life, it does wear and tear on you. And I could tell, and you're like, oh, I have kids and stuff. I knew you were going to be about this age, and I'm like, but you look like a man, and you got that face. Women do age terribly like milk, but men age like wine. Like, we wear our experience, and with that comes wisdom, strength, and stability, man. So like 32 is a good age, man. We got 3 more years, and then it's all over.
And then it's all over. You know what my kids remind me every single day when they realize like my birthday's coming up? They're like, Dad, you're going to be the age that Jesus was when he went on the cross. And I'm like, thanks for the reminder. Like, what am I walking into today, kids? It's just funny. It's really funny what the kids actually latch onto. because you never know. You're gonna go to church. You're gonna, hear the scripture and the homily from a priest if you're going to a Catholic mass, and you don't know what that kid's gonna latch on to, especially the ones that are like 6 and under. You might come home and be like, Dad, why did the priest say? And it'll be like the wrong words, like a game of telephone, and you're like, what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah, man. But like, well, you were saying, right? So you're 32, we're the same age. We
Yep.
also, to kind of introduce a little bit, I know that you got 5 kids,
Yep.
which is incredible, man. I didn't get to hear, I mean, what the age of your children are, but I know it makes me feel bad. I only have 2 children right now. You have boys, girls. What's your family look like?
So
I'm
we've got
interviewing you
3.
now.
I
What am I
know
doing?
it's kind of funny.
Sorry,
Anyways,
take back over.
we got 3 boys and 2 girls so far, and actually we have a 6th one due in April. So we're heading up to the church
dude.
van at this point. Yeah, thank you. We're really excited. I've always wanted a big family. I didn't actually grow up in that big of a family, but I always wanted one. So we're here. I got the big family going on.
Dude,
and
nice,
we'll
man.
see how many God gives us. But as of right now, we'll have a 6th one in April, and we
Dude.
don't know boy girl yet. We'll know around Thanksgiving.
And dude, that's really cool, man. Well, congratulations on that. I never put pictures of my kids up, but I'll tell you what, man. Like my kids have been gone for 2 months, and then we're gonna get into the whole faith aspect. But one thing that I want to tell people is this: is like, if you're not planning on having kids, don't get married.
Yeah.
Genuinely, just don't do it. Because marriage has to mean more than just sex. Because it's like, women will get older, and women, they use sex to trap their mate, and then they don't, the blowjobs eventually, stop, they say, in the world. But that's a joke, right? They use that. They say that they're like, oh, they use it to discourage men from being married. But I think that the real, like, that's sort of the carnal way of looking at it. Like, oh, just sex and me and how I get pleasured. And it's like, what it's saying is that with women, marriage means more than just sex, and it does. And as a man, a lot of times, like, marriage doesn't. Initially, you're just like, yeah, I get someone I can sleep with every night. I'll try to be sensitive to your audience since they're probably very, very, very religious. But it's like, I'm just kind of blunt for people that are new here. I maybe they call it,
I 100% listen. You're not going to get my podcast canceled or anything. Just talk the way you talk. And if people don't like this particular cast, there'll be another one next week.
All right. Yeah. So sorry about that, but I was saying, I'm just a little blunt here. I don't smoke blunts, but I am blunt. But I mean,
you are in California.
Genuine. Well, yeah, I used to. Well, we could talk about that too. I used to be California conservative California, sober. But the Lord's been changing me. But I mean, with kids, is that, like, as a dad, the sexual relationship does change, right? And it's not that you want to have no sex. It's not that you don't want to have any sex, but life does get crazy. And when you go on the road, it's like, if you're like me and you travel a lot, it's like, people say, well, you have sex with your wife. Well, where's your wife when you're on the road for a month? Where's your wife when you deploy into the Marines? Where's your wife when things happen and she's sick, right? The thing is as a man, you've got to have something as well, because women get marriage, they get stability, they get safety. And as a man, it's like the sex is not always as steamy or as crazy or as whatever as you go along. There's ups and downs, right? Your sex life kind of fluctuates. And then especially like once you have kids, like, I mean, there's going to be moments where you can't have sex for months after she gives birth vaginally, you're kind of stuck. So what is it that keeps you in the marriage? Well, being a father is the freaking coolest thing ever. Being a dad is the most brilliant and effective means of realizing your identity as a human being. And it's by far the most valuable part of what a marriage is. It's the ultimate gift of what marriage is. People think, oh, it's about sex, and I can just have sex with my wife and this and that. Yeah, that's great. Sex is great. You make kids through sex. That's cool. But it's also like when you look your kids in the eyes and you realize that you have everything you do when you wake up in the morning is for this being right here, that you owe everything for them, that you owe everything to their future. It is a weight that you carry, but it's also this idea of like, your wife was not always your wife. Your parents were not always, your parents were always your parents. They can never unbecome your parents. So your kids kind of take on the family feeling of they're always there, but with the love you have for your wife, just not in the sexual way. That idea of like, man, I just want to be with this person. I want to provide for them. I want to be around them. But unlike your wife, you could get divorced. It goes away. Your desire to like love these kids and provide for them, I don't think it can ever leave, man. And I'm like, I've fallen in love with being a dad. I've fallen in love with sounds kind of gay, but I genuinely have I hold my kids, and it's like a energy thing, man. When I grab them, I like, they're little, right? They're 2 and 1, but you grab them, put your little hand on their lower back, and you grab their little head, and you give them a kiss on the head. And there's something that you feel ethereally that like connects with your bodies, where you're just like, this is me. This is a part of who I am. And I don't mean to be sappy and like Protestant-y, but it's like, I have been thinking a lot about God in that way of like this is my son, And if like he's not even in school. He's not even going to go to school. And I freak out about kids being mean to him. And like, what's going to happen when they make fun of his little curly hair or his hairline, or he's got a little bit of a big forehead like his dad, it's a little bit messed up. I'm not going to tell him, but it's like, I'm already nervous for him. And I just fear, and I think about him, a lot. And I think about that. And it's really helped me to realize kind of as we go in this discussion of why God didn't give up, on me, and why God still decided to call me at 32 years old, to call me back to him. It doesn't make sense to me when I think of it from my aspect, just like I didn't understand my parents. But now that I've got a son, it's like, wow, okay. If my son ever felt like, left the church or did something, if he came back, man, what joy I would have to get that kid back. I would do anything to get this kid back in my arms. Right now he's in Australia. Yeah. He's not like gone. He's just on vacation with his family. But
I was gonna say, your in-laws are in Australia, right?
Yeah. My wife's there too right now too. They're visiting, but it's a little bit far, so they stay for a long time.
That makes sense.
What I will do just to get my son back into my arms, and he's not even gone. I get why God has done what he's done in this situation, man, and I feel really blessed and humbled to be able to be here with you, and to honestly say, and not in a hypocritical way, that come back to a heart of wanting to serve God. Very far from perfect at doing it, but man, it's the desire is there, and it's supernatural, man, and it's pretty amazing.
So I do have something you kind of reminded me the first time, like when you're holding one of your kids and they start patting you back on the back. It's just such a strange thing, because it's like, that they've noticed all this time that you've been comforting them by patting them on the back, and then like the 2-year-old will just start patting you on the back, and it's like, oh, you want to comfort me. That's really interesting that kids pick up on that and they start reciprocating that kind of a thing. Have you had that happen at all?
Yeah, I'm gonna play audio real fast because I can't play I can't show you the video. But I've been traveling and I've been making videos for my son. I want to get into the church stuff, but I also want to say how funny it is. I've been making videos for him, and so he's kind of like on my travels with me. And apparently he asked my wife if he could make a video back for his dad. And you can hear his little voice. He's 2, by the way, so he's got a little 2-year-old voice. But he's giggling, he's smiling in this. And listen to how cute his voice is. He wanted to make his own video. Listen to this.
Want to say something? Yes. What do you want to say? I don't know. Do you want to say what you had for dinner? Okay, you tell Dad what you had for dinner. Maybe you can tell Dad about how you were riding a bike.
Yeah. He goes on. He's like,
Mama. Okay, say good night, Dad.
That's my dad.
Yeah,
and
so
cute.
It's like stupid that it is as a guy. It's like, it's a cutest little voice. He's a cute little boy, right? He's a little tiny, got a little Aussie voice. He calls me Daddy too. He calls me Daddy. I do love that. However, like, if we kind of like transition, I don't know if you want to transition to some of this talk about the absolute ability for God to pierce sin, and how scared I've become of God, not in a bad way, but I guess sort of like the reality of.
Well, let's start with what were you growing up? Did you have any faith or formation of any sort?
Yeah, so my dad was actually a Calvary Chapel pastor.
Okay.
And
so you were a pastor's kid?
Yeah, but I never latched on to it, if that makes sense. Like,
a lot of pastors' kids don't, from what I've seen online anyway.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why is because pastors and priests become somewhat of a archetype for people of like perfection. And it's like, hey, buddy, your pastor is fat because he's a human being and he's a glutton. And I'm not talking any shame, but the Calvary Chapel pastors are pretty fat, most of them. And so I knew something was weird. I didn't like it. And it was a very Zionist upbringing. We would do Seder. Calvary Chapels, people don't know, sort of started the non-denominational movement in the United States through the Jesus People movement in the 60s. And I went to a very dysfunctional Calvary Chapel church. It was completely Hispanic, very few like English speakers in Los Angeles. And I don't want to degrade anybody because these are people who believe in Christ and they love God. And it really was like an AA meeting for like Mexicans. It's kind of what it was. It was like a giant AA meeting for Mexicans, and that's good for them, And there was a lot of great people there that I know, and I think they would all kind of agree with me on that. I don't mean that, to be a criticism. It's just like my views on race, religion sort of developed young. I've talked to my siblings about this. I sort of like felt better than the people at my church because they were just kind of like drug addict. Like it's kind of like a lot of people who come to Christ, but they never really get their personal life really in track. Like it's kind of just like one of those churches where people are just constantly like going in circles, and you don't know if the church is unhealthy because the people are unhealthy, or if the people are unhealthy because the church leadership's unhealthy. You don't really know what's going on, but like people just don't seem to really get better. There were a couple stories, and people obviously did improve, and there's alcoholics and people that overcame it. That's not what I mean. I just mean like, still, it's just like
there's some aspect of Christianity that requires the confessional, in my opinion. And I know that Catholicism and Orthodoxy have it. There's some Lutheran churches that have a confessional, and some other various denominations do have a confessional aspect to it. But I feel like it's really hard when you have a faith alone basis of Scripture, and a lot of Protestants have that. And so it does kind of affect. There's like no medicine to get better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. So the accountability was lost on me, right?
Yeah.
So there's no so that's what I'm getting at. It's not really to talk crap on Mexicans, which I do on my show sometimes, but it's more or less to bring up the fact that I didn't really ever learn like everything was like, oh, this pastor would sin, or this person would do this, and be like, oh, don't worry, brother. Like everything was kind of like this idea of God is like, you don't really want to confess your sin because people will gossip about you. And you grow up in the church seeing the nastiness. And I think it's what it is. That you see people treat your parents horribly, so you get a bad idea for laymen. You see your parents sin. You see your mom, screaming at you. My mom had a problem with anger, and she repented of that later in her life. And I think it's one of the few times I'd really seen God do something. Like I noticed my mom get over a sin in her life, right? I want to remind people that like, people think like, oh, like, I talked to some of these, a new phrase I learned that I never heard of till like a day ago. It's called Gabriel Huddleston, I think his name is, told me this phrase called like seed sower Christians. You know about that?
This isn't the prosperity gospel, is it?
No, but it's just like the Christians that clutch their pearls, right? That are like,
okay.
Like like all the Christians that hate me right now. Like I thought Christians would be happy I came back to God, but most Christian communities are actually hate me right now, and they're doing like, I got basically Seth Dillon from Babylon B, and like Joel Berry, James Lindsay, and like just weird people in the.
You're naming all the same people that don't like me.
Okay, yeah. So you all these weird people that are like telling me that like I can't be right wing, and they're calling me pagan, even though I just came to Christ. And then on the other end, you have all these like reformed people and all these people in the church that are telling me, these seed sowers, all these Protestants, and I'm like not a Christian because I say the word pussy when I describe a woman's vagina. And it's like, well, I don't know. Isn't that what it's called? Okay, let's call it a vaginal cavity. Like I don't know what you want me to say. And then like it's like I always agree with my critics. It's like, could I have softer speech? Yes. Could I probably use better wording as a Christian now? Yeah, I just haven't got there. You know what I mean? Like, do you understand that with faith people? It's like,
well, there's two aspects too, though. You got to speak the language of the people you're trying to evangelize to. There's an aspect to that. Like, you're not going to go on a construction site and start speaking, theology of the body or something like John Paul II. You're going to go to a construction site and speak the language that construction workers are speaking if you want to tell them about God. So there's different aspects of language that can be used for telling people about God. And it doesn't mean you need to, you should speak as clearly and cleanly as you can. But at the same time, if you speak like a pencil neck to a bunch of bodybuilders, they're not going to listen to you. You know what I mean?
Like Breland Hollyhand, right?
Yeah.
Like,
if he tried to evangelize construction workers, they'd brush him off and say, go away.
but that's the thing, man. Is so like meaning so like I got this I basically associated Christianity with weakness, and like look, I'm not gonna say anything negative about my father, but let's just say like I just knew that's not what I wanted, right? I didn't want that.
Yeah.
And I also just like, this is like a side note. This is one of the few times I'll ever say this because I am retarded. But
the Alex Jones on Joe Rogan admission, huh?
Well, yeah, I am. Like, but it's not even like Joe Rogan. It's like I might have like really damaged my brain from drug use as a kid.
Oh, okay.
But I, I've always had an exceptionally, high IQ or higher level of intelligence. Something that I've never really felt like to weaponize or to really use. But like I've always like, taught, like I got scholarships to like expensive boarding schools and got full ride scholarships to top universities. Got to pick my university. Got like valedictorian, salutatorian, graduated nearly 4.0 from university, like genetic engineering. Like I just found schooling, multiple degrees, and like gotten to grad school first try, everything. Like never really had a problem with like that side of things. And I think that with that, it's kind of funny. It's my public persona. I present myself as just kind of being this real like dumb guy from California that doesn't really know anything. Is just kind of notices things and asks questions. And I don't really weaponize the intellectual curiosity that maybe I forge behind the scenes or the things that I really challenge myself with.
Elijah, no stupid person could do what you do. I'm just going to say that flat out.
You ever met Brandon Tatum?
Okay, but everybody can kind of tell where his intelligence is lacking in different places. Okay, let's just put it out there. But I don't think anybody could speak the way you do and talk to the people that you do without having the intelligence behind it.
Maybe, but what if I'm fooling you? Like and I get what you're saying, but I also have to say, like, yeah,
you could be a high functioning sociopath. That's possible.
My point is that like I only connected to the faith because it's like it was funny. Like I went to go debate Destiny. He's a famous streamer.
I saw that
at universities, and I remember like people were texting me because like he didn't win the debates, and no one thought he won. And I had impossible positions to take at the time. Right at the time, my positions were supposed to be to defend Russia invading Ukraine like a month after they invaded, which was a very unpopular position universally on the right and the left. But it was justified, by the way, and I defended it. And people were writing like, I didn't know you knew how to like formally debate. I'm like, yeah, dude, I did like decathlon and like I was like speech and debate decathlon. I used to be a public speaker in university. Like, yeah, like I don't know what you thought. It's like, well, you just talk to transgenders and laugh at dick jokes, and it's like, well, yeah, man, because like when I'm hanging out with my friends, we're not in decathlon. Like we don't drink a couple of beers and talk about the 7 points of an argument. Like we just argue over each other and yell and then hit each other and then get, what I mean? Like we're not trying to even come to a conclusion. We're just trying to be guys and argue, right? That's like the idea.
The intent of this show is literally to have conversations so that instead of, I'm going to use a word I haven't used on the show yet, but so instead of Gen Z going off on like the hub and gooning, they can watch this show and talk about faith or have a guy conversation. That's kind of the
yeah. It's like the people. It's like locker room talk, and they even get me on this. The Christians do. It's like, oh, his show's like locker room talk, and you go, yeah, it is, dude. Because here's the thing, I'm not fake, and I think that's one of the things. My intern, he is a really cool guy, and you can see him on a recent video I made for Slightly Offensive. He was like, what's weird is he's been watching the content for a long time. By the way, weird note, because everybody told me, he's like, I've been watching your content for like 5 years. And I was like, you're like 18. How is that possible? He's like, I was like 13 watching your videos. But he was like 13 watching them. And we have a very young audience. Like my content is the reason why I'm not rich is because everyone who watches my videos is like 18 to 30 years old. And so they don't have any money and they don't buy anything. So it's really frustrating. I can't sell them like, scams. Like I wish I could, guys, but I can't.
Scams.
So no, it's true. I can't sell them scams. So in retrospect, though, as you go through this, he was like, people always, say a lot of slander, a lot of rumors about you. They think that you're this horrible person because I don't know why everyone always says I do all these horrible things. I'm not doing these things. And he's like, well, I think what it is that most people, especially in this space, are so fake online that they don't really do very much bad stuff, but maybe they sleep around here or there, or they do drugs here or there. But on camera, they're like perfect Christians. So people assume because you'll get drunk on stream or, I've been on drugs on stream, by the way. That's crazy. I remember like they try to get me I was like rolling or something, and someone put a video up. I was in DC, and I was like jaw, and my eyes were like this, and like somebody like leaked it, you know. It's like Elijah Schaffer caught on drugs, and I just like retweeted it, and I was like, intense night, brother. Should have come. That should have been there. I was like, I'll save one for you next time. Like, I don't have anything to hide, man. That's kind of like where the world and Christ comes together. I didn't want to be fake, man, and I learned that growing up in the church. You cannot be fake. Like, you got to be authentic, because everyone is fake. And I saw the struggle that my parents had, and I think a lot of religious leaders have, where they, like, I'm not accusing my parents of being fake. That's not what I'm saying. But just like the pedestal,
I get exactly what you're saying. It's like people want to hide behind political correctness and virtue signal that they're on the team, they're good, they don't do anything bad in their lives. But in reality, everybody has skeletons in the closet. Some people reveal them, some people don't. But as long as you're honest about who you are to your friends, they will respect you.
Yeah. And shout out to Dark in the chat. This isn't my show. He's like, where's the confetti and the graphics? This is not my show.
Yeah, I tried to find some way to do confetti of color, but I couldn't figure it out.
I can show you, man. I can show you. If you ever have questions, my guys can always show you. But no, but I'll say, like, so people ask me, why am I so brutally honest? And why am I so publicly messed up? And it's like, because I'd rather be publicly screwed up than to be privately struggling, right? And I think there's no greater prison than to have things in your heart that you hold on to, while publicly you have to pretend that you're okay. And I think a lot of guys are in that position. A lot of humans are in that position, but a lot of guys are in that, man, because we have a split personality, right? I mean, Paul mentions this, that when I try to do good, evil's close at hand, and that, you know, it's like we want to be noble and we want to be loyal. And I this is my best example, and this is going to be crass for your very religious people, but it's like we want to have the nobility and the discipline to be a knight, right? To be on our horse,
to be chivalrous and all that,
and to be chivalrous, and to go in and train with our sword and our javelin and our spear, and then to have the courage to go into battle, the perseverance and the long-standing mental capacity to go to war, the tactics to win. But also there's a side of war that we don't talk about that they would do, which was what? Which was, pillage, when they're in the battlefields, they'd be raping, having sex with the women in the village, or when they'd go there, they would rape the women, they would loot the place, they would burn it down. There's like a savage side that was part of the reward of war. You burn down the place, you enslave the women, or you rape them. And I don't mean modern rape. Like, I'm not promoting rape. I want to be very clear on that. That's not what this is.
No,
but what I'm about history.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But historically speaking, the Vikings did not leave souls alive, and they did exactly what you're talking about.
People clip me, and I don't want to be said like, then the great side of being a man is raping people. That's not what I'm saying.
There is a savage aspect to masculinity. It exists.
Correct. A very savage aspect that
that's why people like sports. That's why men like sports.
Correct. But I'm saying, like, so it's not, I don't mean we are desiring sexual assault, or we're desiring, theft, but I'm trying to explain that, like, we do want this greatness, but then sometimes, bro, it's a Friday night and you also just want to, like, it's like, look, God's blessed me. I've worked on my testosterone. I've been like, I'm not gonna like flex or anything, but it's like I've been getting like I'm getting shredded right now. I'm working hard, and all this is a reward, right? Marcus Aurelius said, like, the reward for virtue is virtue itself. But then at the same time, as a guy, you're like, you know what? I am looking better, and I am taking care of myself. You know what? There is some 20-year-old girls looking at me at the gym, and like, you're a guy. Let's be honest. You want to rock. I'm not gonna use graphic language. We'll just say, you want to drain yourself. You want to be like the Great Lakes and drain yourself into the river, right? You see that, and you're like, dude, I want to go dominate that. That's where your brain goes in the flesh. You're like, I'm going to get that, and whatever
denying
and
yourself,
like,
that is part of the Christian lifestyle.
Correct. But I think a lot of people are they're pretending like that part doesn't exist, when in reality, God's not telling you to deny your masculinity exists. He's telling you to tame the wildness of the sinful aspects of your masculinity, and to control and to focus it, right? And I think that, like, this is where Protestantism lies to people, and why I felt like turning to God was a form of weakness. To me, from my experience, I turned to God. So I got fired from Blaze TV. publicly on the internet with that before even telling me I was fired. I got fired through a tweet, right? That's fucked up.
I remember that. That
All
was
right.
pretty
Oh,
bad.
shoot. I shouldn't be saying that on this show. That's screwed up. I shouldn't be saying that at all. But let me just say, that's screwed up.
That's not the first effort on this show, just so you know.
Okay. So that's screwed up, right? And that was really the first stage of damaging this. I'm like, wait. And I'm under a very strict NDA and I can't really get into this, but I'm like, if I'm supposed to go, then a bunch of people need to go, because like, if this is why I'm getting taken out, then like, why are all these people not getting taken out? Because at this point, we're not going to have a company if this is like, and I had to make this decision. So then what I did is I decided to like start going to church, and I kind of like started talking to Protestant pastors, and they gave me bad advice, man. Now my worldly friends were telling me, dude, get a lawyer, go sue them, go take all these people down. And I should have done that, to be completely honest. I should have taken a lot of people down that probably deserved it. And I took this advice from people because it was like, why don't you just go expose them? Why don't you go show all the things they're doing that's way worse than anything someone said you've done? And it was like, so like, but here's my point. I don't think I should have done that. But I also think this idea, like, dude, be soft, be a Christian. Mark Driscoll gave me the best advice today, actually. I was on the phone with him, Pastor Mark Driscoll, and he said, I still talk to Protestants. I go, dude, what was that, man? Because he was with me during that time when I got fired. I go, what was that advice I got from these Christians, dude? It was the worst advice. It made me look weak and pathetic. Like, I just like was quiet, turned the other cheek, and like walked away. I go, and then my worldly friends, they were telling me to go to war. And like, now I'm like, man, I should have gone to war. Now, obviously I said, now I've realized the answer was somewhere in between. It wasn't like, don't just take vengeance for vengeance sake, but maybe go get a lawyer and go defend yourself and go to court and like, try to defend your honor and your reputation and go try to explain the reality of what's going on here instead of just taking it and moving on. Maybe the answer was in between. So I told him, he goes, you know what? And I liked what he said today. He goes, most Protestant Christianity is just woke light. He goes, it's just like the high school teacher type guys, it's like TED Talk lecturers and like school counselors. Love that. He said most Protestant pastors are like school counselor type guys, just reading some soft encouragement from a book. That's like basically what it is. And I think that like when I went through that pain, man, when you're waking up and people are slandering you and your marriage and it's getting the front page of the New York Post and you got your in-laws, slamming you when you go Google my name, it says I'm a horrible person that does like illegal things. However, I've never been successfully sued, never had a single criminal charge against me. I'm not in jail, never been arrested, never even gone to court for any accusations or charges. And so it's like, I always tell people that I'm like, well, you can believe what you want, but at the same time, I think if the things people said were true, either I'm the best damn criminal that exists,
or you'd be sued into oblivion.
I would be, my life, I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
And so I just, but that's not enough, right? It's the reason why. So why do they do it? Why do they drag you? It's because the goal is to put you in the jury of public perception. And I think the other side is I think I was the first person to be sued for anti-Semitism. Now, the real reason why I got sued back in the day,
anti-Semitism.
Yeah. So what people don't know is
I didn't know that.
The whole Leaving the Blaze and like the lawsuit that ensued and why I lost my channel to Alex Stein and everything was involved in a lawsuit that was claiming that I was like harassing women, right? It's kind of like what it was. But I was being sexist. So somehow it got leaked that I was being sexual, but it was sexist. But the word sex was below people's IQ. Yeah. So it's sex-based harassment, not sexual harassment. But now people just say sexual harassment because it's funnier, I guess. I don't know. But I'll take it. People read that. James Lindsay was like, "You've been credibly accused of abusing women." I'm like, buddy, they lost the lawsuit. It's not credible.
If it makes you feel better, I have like less than 10% Jewish ethnicity in my ancestry, and I get accused.
All right, I'm getting out of here.
I get accused of being a self-hating Jew. That's what people do to me sometimes. It's just bizarre. I'm like, when have I ever even talked about like that other than like just now? Anyway.
Well, hey,
I'm 90% like European and like 2% Native American and the rest is whatever.
Yeah, I always tell people one of my ancestors was was Ashkenazi Jewish too. I think it was like my great grandfather or something, and I don't care if you have a problem with that. I have no problem. I don't care. I mean, if you have a problem with that, probably good for you. You probably should.
No, I have
I
a
mean,
problem. When I looked up these ancestors of mine, I do have a problem with them. They were not good people. I'll tell you.
Do you know the Jews also killed my family? That's another story. They actually, like, my family was murdered by Jews. That's actually not a joke. But like, so I have a little bit of blood libel there. But yeah. But what I mean is that I only tell this story because, you know, what happened is like I realized that no matter what I did, if I went online, like no matter what I did, you know, you go online and people are like, you know, I think the weirdest accusation was that I was grooming like a gay pedophile with this guy named Ollie Alexander, who I've never even like associated with in any capacity. But apparently I ran a. It's always human trafficking. It's always child abuse. It's always like it's never just like, oh, you know, and like to this day, you know, someone arguing me like, you know, he's credibly been targeting minor men with gay Indian, and you're like, dude, what the hell, man? Like, okay, fine. Sure, man, whatever. But by the way, also that was that slanderous piece was also by a Jew. But I was going to say, so if you go back to Leaving Blaze, the whole legal case that was made against me to get me out was actually self-funded by a Jewish organization through a Jewish legal agency by Kurt Schlittner, who then, if you don't know, half the lawsuit was actually about me being anti-Semitic. So I actually got sued for anti-Semitism. This is a massive lawsuit about how I caused a woman to have health problems by bringing anti-Semitic content onto the show. And my anti-Semitism caused her health pain and caused her to be unable to work. This is not a joke. I think one of the first people to be sued for anti-Semitism in the right-wing movement, and I don't get any credit for it. I wish I did. I have the lawsuit. I may drop it one day. It's hilarious. But long story short, you know, I didn't go to war, but man, like people try to say I was a freaking pedophile. They were trying to say I was a rapist. Like people were saying really horrible things, and there was the church was piling on. Like they were like, yeah, he's a bad guy. He's not a real Christian. Like, hey, these are not even true statements, buddy. So I'm getting judged by like Christians, cut off by people. I have Christian friends that I know. They're like, dude, I don't want to get involved in this. I don't want to be like, I know it's not true. I don't want to be involved. And you're like, so I started bringing Christianity with weakness. And I started realizing that like the only way to kind of be strong was to be your own God, you know, and sort of like, and I was honest with it. Like, my wife would be like, so are you following God? And I would just be like, look, I believe God's true. And I believe people should follow God, but I'm not. And I'm never going to stop telling people that it's good to follow God or like it's the right thing to do because, you know, when I'm fat, I still tell people to lose weight. You know what I mean? Like, right. I just doesn't work for me, you know, like, but I'm not against God. Like I believe in Jesus. I just like, I'm, you know, so I would say I believe in Jesus, but I don't have a relationship with God. There's no direct connection. We're not compadres, you know? And, like, you know, and the thing is, what's funny is this angle here on this camera, I look a lot thinner than I do at my studio because I usually like this. It always look like I'm like.
Actually, I shrunk your camera hair just to make it look even, you know, more thin.
Did you really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, I always look a little bit thinner on webcams, but yeah, like, so going forward, man.
Okay, I'm just gonna clear something up for Bob real quick. This is a green screen. I have a design set that I created for this podcast. It looks like I'm actually in like a church library, but I'm not. There you go.
Yeah, I have. Where's this one? This is the one I use. No, wait, that's not the one. Look at that one.
Those are like standard Teams ones, aren't they?
No.
Some of them are. I've seen those before.
I don't like these things though, but yeah. Anyway, that's what I like to use. But I guess I can just do that. That's good. A blur. And I also have some acne because I'm doing some new peptides here, and so there's a little bit of a breakout in the beginning, but we'll talk about that. Yeah. So going forward, man, I had to fight for my own survival, man. I was fighting, going like my friends were trying to put me in prison, bro. Like people were trying to put me in jail.
I do remember that because I moved over to watching you on Slightly Offensive at least like once a week or so after you moved over. Because I did really like what you guys were doing with at least I liked what you were doing with You Are Here, and the guests you were bringing in were awesome. Like that's how I found out about Doyle was really cool. That was the first time I had ever heard of Nick Fuentes was when he was on your show.
Dude, it was a cool show, man. That's what happens when you give me a couple $1 million. I can do cool things with it. You know what I mean? Now I run my now I hire like Guinea, like traffic Guinea black pygmy people to like edit basically. No, I have a ragtag awesome group of people that that work for me now. But going ahead, yeah, so kind of bringing this out, it's like, as a man, I only bring this as a story to tell people, is like, you know, people trying to put me in prison. You know, our best friends, it was my neighbor and best friend who betrayed me. I think she, you know, I think she used to think that I was in love with her, or she was in love with me. A lot of hitting on me, things that were just very bizarre. You know, even like my old, like, you know, one of the girls that was involved in it, like, she's trying to sleep with my producer. He didn't want to sleep with her. These women are very demented. And God's, you know, their lives are miserable now. And their life sucks. So they blame me for their problems. And I think they just were in love with me. That's honestly my opinion. And I turned them down. I mean, even recently, a girl asked me to you know, sleep with her. I said no. And then she like started telling people I was gay and stuff because I said no. It's like,
you know, that's like one of the oldest stories ever told. It's literally in the Bible, because that the wife of one of the Egyptians tries to do that to Joseph, and then puts him in prison for like 20 years. And then he comes out and he ends up being like the second in command of all of Egypt and controlling the food supply. You know what I'm talking about?
By the way, yeah, no, I know. And also Bob asked if I'm on meth. Crack, actually.
Correct, yeah.
And then the traditional Augustine said, are Elijah and Nick Fuentes both gay? Yes. No, dude, you guys are so weird, dude. This is like the most ridiculous thing ever. Yeah. My wife's name is it's my wife. She used to be a man.
No.
No,
Where'd the kids come from then, Elijah?
Yeah. We used Dave Rubin's.
You followed the Rubin method?
Yeah, the Rubin report. It's called the Rubin report. You can download it.
Report. Listen,
no, but,
I have to say, I've been seeing a lot of pushback against him, and I'm happy to see it online, because I really don't like that you can just kind of purchase children.
Oh, it should be illegal, brother.
It should be completely illegal.
Yeah. Like, so, you know, just kind of going forward, man, I've had a real problem with the church and with these things with God. And I have been real burdened, because I really wanted to know God, but I felt that I think maybe guys can know this, man. It's like, I'm just like, I'm a guy, man. Like if women knew what went on in her head, we'd all be arrested. You know what I mean? Like, we'd all be in jail. And if you
could be like in the middle of a meeting and you're just like, man, if I had a battle axe, I'd take all these guys out right now.
Yeah.
Like, these are the kinds of things that go through dudes' heads. It's just,
yeah. Well, and I was thinking about other things too that I don't even want to say here, but there are moments where you're like, that's an illegal thought, you know, like you're just like, that's going to put that one away. Like, and sometimes it even seems foreign. Like, you're like, and I'm not one of these guys like the devil's putting thoughts in my head. No, dude, I think men just have a nature towards like depravity, you know? I think there's a like, I think sometimes it's like just your testosterone. It means your balls are working in the moment, right? You have this desire to do something like totally insane. And that's totally fine, right? It's acting upon it. That is what and it's kind of part of the challenge. You know, obviously
there's an alpha. Society. I think every man has, well, not every man. Real men have an alpha complex to them. At least a little bit, because no man wants their house to be invaded by another man. So there's like a level of protection you have to provide. And in your head, you're like, what would I do in this scenario? What would I do in that scenario? And then like you analyze all these scenarios. How are you going to react to it? How are you going to defend your family? And most men have at least at one time in their life thought about going out in a blaze of fury with guns firing everywhere. And you're just like, I'm taking everybody out as my family's getting away to safety. You know, you got the full, was it Breaking Bad at the end when he just takes all the shots?
Yeah.
Anyway, like I think every man has had that thought at some point in their life. Like, what would I do? You know? Anyway.
You know what? Yeah. And I think we're also, by the way, I'm going to need to promote this more. When it's posted, remind me to post it. If you're watching this video, I'm going to be the best host here. Make sure you guys subscribe to this. This is a newer channel, guys. And when you're a channel that's growing, like I'm just growing a new channel too, every subscriber counts. Okay. So, you know, I think that creators like, oh, there's 20 people watching. Dude, 20 people is an entire packed living room for a party. Like, it's like we're having a party. Yep. There's all of us. Shout out to Bob. Shout out to Doomsday Cracker. Shout out to Dark Duck. Shout out to, I think it's one of your mods, Simeon Robon. Is that you? No,
So like one of the first podcasts I did on this channel, I like just modded everybody. I was like, you know what, you guys all deserve mod because I just started this channel and you're all here.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Heritage American 1984. The rest of you guys who are in here, we got Haley, Luja, and the rest of you. I just want to give a shout out and let you guys know you guys the co-life.
Haley Luja.
Haley Luja. And Butthead is back there as well. That's fantastic. So, and shout out to Crash as Dark Duck said for hosting. Yeah. You know, I don't know where you want to go from here, but basically, I've always known that if I'm going to give my life to God, that I've got to go all in. And I, dude, I've been partying for 20 years of my life, man. And I don't know, somewhere there was this moment where I didn't drink for a few months, but I was still smoking weed. And then somehow everybody thought that I like don't drink or I don't like. The internet's weird, man. Like I was just like, oh, I'm going to church for a couple weeks years ago, and I was like, oh, I'm like not drinking for health reasons. Like, yeah, I've cut out alcohol for health reasons, like for like a month or two to lose weight. Yeah, because being a dad, it's hard not to be a fat loser. You know, it's hard, man. But our kids can't accept that, dude. We can't be fat losers, bro. We need to. If you want to know some tricks too, dude, I'm starting a peptide company called Riff Research. I have a pharmaceutical license. People know I'm a genetic engineer by trade. I used to be a pharmacy technician. I've gone to school for pharmaceuticals. I now run I'm a CEO of a pharmacy company. People don't know that. People wonder how we fund things here and stuff like that. Like our parent company is a $100 million company, and our parent company, that company is $4.2 billion. So we're not dying over here. However, we are limited and we're trying to become independent. However, too, I'm well connected in the industry, and I mean this in a nice way. You know, we got some people from Barstool coming that might be able to help, that might want to help Riff, that are a little more base, that don't want to like where Portnoy is going with things. You know, we have really, really powerful people. Just nobody's for some reason giving us money. So we're trying to raise money. Even though it's a small group here, if anybody knows anyone that wants to invest, you know, we're considering investors, even small investors. If you're looking to do like 100, 250 grand or whatever into the company, we're trying to raise some money here. To hit the next chapter. We got Joel Webbin coming on. We have our new White House show with Jordan Conrad's, and we got a contract with Gateway. We have Vrillium, a new show coming out. He's really good. You should follow him on Instagram. He's Orthodox. And we also have these Christians coming on, Protestants that I know that are coming on that kind of touch into the conspiracy, demonology, and all that stuff that's coming on. So we're going to have two religious shows, two political shows. And we also have Sarah Stock, who does some content for us. She'll be starting her full show soon, and a lot of other things happening. It's a really great thing. I'm really happy. There's about a dozen of us working there, about a dozen working on the other company. So every day I'm managing like 24 people. It's insane. If everyone wonders why my content is there's not a lot of it and no one really watches it anymore, it's because I suck. No, it's because I just don't really do what I used to do. I don't do what I used to do. You know, I don't go out. I don't do all this stuff. I got kids now. And so I'm trying to build something, not just work. And in the midst of all this, man, I'm going to tell you this. You know, this is going to sound stupid because I'm not rich at all. And that's the perspective, but I'm not rich at all. But dude, it's so easy as a guy, man, to just get lost in the sauce, bro. It's so easy to just get like something so stupid. Like I'll just drop something that's not a flex. It's like, I got a $4,000 a year membership to a exclusive cigar club. And you know, you think that we're not this stupid, you know, like people are always like, how do these celebrities become corrupt? How do these Zionists sell out for, you know, only $500,000 to AIPAC or whatever? It's like, dude, give a man a $4,000 private cigar club membership. $4,000. Okay. That's less than most people make in a month. You're gonna be there every day. All of a sudden, you become a cigar connoisseur. You're going to events. You're all plugged in. Like I'm one of those guys. Now I'm like a cigar enthusiast, and I'm like there every night. I'm getting, you know, smoking jackets, and I'm, you know, have a locker, and like, dude, $4,000, and you're lost in a new community, dude. I don't care if it's Dungeons and Dragons, if you like painting little, you know, figurines, if you're into Fortnite and video games, like, dude, that's a $500 system. That's not a little bit of money. It's a lot of money. Dude, there's guys I know that spend $4 or $5 grand in a year on video games, you know? So
it's really easy to do.
Yeah. But I'm saying like, so I'm not flexing. I'm saying I'm one of these guys. I get lost in what I'm into. And
every guy does.
Well, because you know what? Because the real world sucks, man.
People want the escapism to something that's enjoyable and something with that where you're connecting with people that are at the same level as you, whether it's financially or like what you have in politics or some group of guys that are doing the same thing you're doing that's exclusive.
Oh, by the way, I don't know who this Bob guy is, one of your viewers.
No, he's not.
Nope. He has no idea. He's saying I'm talking to, dude, this is my personality. If you follow my content, I'm like kind of schizophrenic and psychotic.
If
Like,
Elijah's talking slow, I get a little concerned.
yeah. Also, these
Oh, is it
Zins.
Zins?
Yeah,
You're
I
not
gotta
doing the
do-
Alp? Come on, man.
I do the Alp, but I'm intentionally doing Zins because we're working on a contract with them. So I'm gonna.
Oh,
I
okay.
do. I'm
Gotcha.
just kidding. I do Alp, but I actually run out of them. So that's kind of. I'm not on. I buy like 8 packs, and my employees steal them, and then I don't know what to do. No, but I mean, like you know. So I've just been lost.
You did the man on the streets thing for a long time. That had to be kind of hard with a faith, even trying to maintain some kind of faith when you're walking through the streets, seeing all kinds of degeneracy everywhere.
Well, I saw a lot of people get killed, actually. So, you know, they shot a girl in the stomach in front of me. These guys did. It was really brutal. I also saw 2 people get murdered, or I've seen 3 people murdered. So well, no, 4, but 3 in 1 year. And I saw some guy's arm get blown off. I've had my leg blown open, and I've had crazy stuff happen. I've been arrested many, many times. I've been arrested by the Secret Service, been arrested by Department of Homeland Security. I've had a lot of things that have been complicated, right?
Yeah. I've only got shot at
yeah.
one time. One
Really?
time I got shot at, yeah. It was in a Walgreens parking lot. Just wild story. It was the biggest podcast I'd ever done. Turned out my kid was sick, so I had to go get Tylenol from Walgreens or whatever I was supposed to get that. And I don't remember if it was Tylenol or something else, but I drive at like 1 a.m. to a Walgreens. And as I'm walking out, I just start hearing pop, 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 you know, pop, just literally pops. And I booked it to my car. I was like, hell no, I'm not dying getting medicine at 1 a.m. So I booked it to my car, jumped in, closed the door, took off, immediately called the police. I was like, what the heck just happened?
Oh yeah, and your chat. I like to interact with chat. You're I'm a drug addict. I'm actually, unironically, I'm not a drug addict, but like low key, kind of an alcoholic, which is true. I don't say that like I'm not like this alcoholic in terms of probably what people think an alcoholic is, but I'm like a binge drinker, right? So like I'll drink twice a week, but to black out, right? So like I'm an open book, man. I'm like, you know, I'll be honest. And that was kind of my problem is I was like a functioning alcoholic. Now people say I'm an alcoholic and I say, no, I'm not. Cause they use it and like, oh, they accuse me of this or that. It's like, no, but what I was doing is if we could describe an alcoholic as somebody who uses alcohol to mask their problems, I have been doing that. Okay. And
it's easy to fall into that trap, honestly.
Dude, it is, man. And like, so I'm not like an alcoholic where like, I don't care for drink. Like I can go to a bar and I'm not going to drink. I don't smell. I know people do have that problem. Like you smell alcohol and it's like, you know, like I don't like, but I'm the kind of guy that once I start drinking, I don't stop drinking. Right. I don't stop drinking. And someone said, did I get arrested for Nancy Pelosi's office? No, but I did get charged with wiretapping by the FBI. And
wiretapping?
I got for espionage. Yeah. And then I got an espionage charge and I did get investigated and it went from 2021 to 2025 and it was dropped in January by the DOJ, by Trump's DOJ. So I've been under investigation for 4 years and it's been over $250,000 in legal fees. Why am I not in jail? This is actually totally like a prissy thing to say because I had the money not to be in jail. And the reason why a lot of January 6 people were in jail is because they were normal Americans who didn't work in media and didn't have $250,000 to spend on legal fees. So you know, it's pretty simple, man. If you have money, you don't go to jail. That's kind of how it works, bro.
It is funny. Like people don't think that's the way it works, but it absolutely is. If you got the cash to stay out of jail, unless you do something completely heinous, that there's no way to escape from it. Most people, if they have the money, can pay the money to the system and stay out of the system.
Look at Diddy, man. He's getting a couple years for like human trafficking. It's like, I mean, you know, I mean, what Epstein, you know, was a registered sex offender, got out. Oh yeah, Snowflake is there. You know, Snowflake is a producer at Rift as well, and he was facing 5 years in prison and got pardoned in January as well. So they rated him. The FBI rated him like he was a terrorist. So I mean, look, I didn't get that, and you know, he was smart. You should have him on sometime, man. Snowflake News. He's got 250,000 followers on Instagram. He'd come on your show too. He's a good He's on a faith journey right now too, and he's kind of like me. He's sort of like open book, honest, and also figuring his life out. He's a better guy than I am, though. So what I felt like is I feel like a lot of guys are in this position, man. I like kind of talking about the way where I am and where I'm coming out of because it's real, you know. Everyone's like,
that's why I wanted to have you on because I see lots of people discussing, is Elijah going to Orthodoxy? Is he going to Catholicism? Is he considering both? Nobody seems to know where you're at in your faith journey. And I'm also curious where that's headed. And
Yeah, well, but I'm saying,
discuss, but also discussing like what it means to be a man. I think that's important.
Yeah.
People have lost that. Like, being a Christian doesn't make you a wimp. And if it does, then it's not really Christianity.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying, like, so when people say what other crazy things have you seen in the field, what I mean is like, dude, like, I always compared myself. I was on Allie Beth Stuckey's podcast talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Because I famously got involved in that trial, and I recorded those killings when he killed that Jewish pedophile. And
I didn't realize he was Jewish. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he killed a Jewish pedophile, Kyle Rittenhouse did. And I really picked up heavy drinking in 2020. My mom died, and I became a field journalist for the Blaze news website, tracking extremism. And like, I would tell her, like, Christians, I was crying out for help, man, in 2020. I was like, guys, all these Christians are just telling me how I'm like carnal and I'm bad, but like I'm hurting, like, and I think a lot of guys are suffering in silence, man. Like,
men do.
Like, yeah, like, man, that. So I'm getting a dry mouth from this. This like.
So I mean,
men burn
do
the back of your throat.
It's like,
you ever know that? It's like, ooh, like
I don't. I have not had that problem. Let's put it that way.
Well, Alex don't do it, but that does. But I was gonna say, like, I was crying out for help, and my mom died. I was real close to her, and my family fell apart. And dude, I kind of got like the problem when you black out. This is what guys don't understand is like you do stupid stuff when like you might not remember it, but people do,
Yeah.
And I've gotten a reputation, and people just know about me as that guy that likes to party, and it's not a good reputation, man. And I think people think that I drink more than I do because when they see me drink, I drink a lot, but it's like, you don't need to be drinking every day.
Right.
In order to do dumb stuff when you're drunk. And I'm not against alcohol or anything. But it's like, I would tell Allie on the show, I was like, Allie, I saw people get killed, like
you're essentially coming back with like almost like war PTSD when you see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, for real. And I don't want to downplay real war, but
no, you're not, but you see things that are similar to what happens in war.
Yeah. And I was just like, man, I compared it to this. I remember I said this back in 2020 in her podcast. I go, I feel like I'm a soldier, like in the Revolutionary War, and I'm like walking into a home, like, and the home is like the Christian community, and I'm like dripping blood, and I'm like, help, and they're like, you're dripping blood on our carpet, and you're going, dude, I'm fighting a war. Like, what do you expect me to be clean? And it's like, I'm like using an F-bomb, and it's like, you're mad I'm using an F-bomb and I'm bleeding, but it's like, do you know what I just saw? Do you know what do you know what's going on here? And so I just kind of like, I kind of spent the last few years just kind of getting drunk, and, out of like respect for my wife, I don't want to like say much more than that, but like when you're drinking and stuff, I went to strip clubs and kind of just like, messed around and did things I shouldn't have done, and just kind of being one of the boys. And I think because never in my sin was I doing anything against anyone, I felt like I was justified, because it was like, well, you're going to a strip club. Well, I'm not touching the girls, right? It's like, I'm not doing anything. Like, it's just
you edge closer and closer to something that you're like moving the chains, or not moving the chains, moving the goalposts on what you can constitute a sin, or what you consider behavior that's acceptable, right? That you're like inching closer and closer until finally you hit your low point and something happens, right? That's the idea.
Well, yeah, but like what it is I'll use a kind of a phrase. Like, I'm not in AA, the program, but my friend did give me, let me grab this real quick. Give me this, which I'm reading. It's a good book, man. I read it through once. I'm reading it again right now. It's called Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book or something. And yeah, man, now I do look like I'm on drugs. My mouth is all dry. This thing burned my mouth, and I'm like, have cotton mouth. But
if you need to take a break and grab water, go ahead.
No, I have water here. I'm just trying to like, I've been going all day, man. I've been a long work day, but I'm like, I basically ended up, man, where a lot of guys are, where I'm carrying the weight of my family. My in-laws like kind of hate me. And they're great people, so they probably hate me justifiably, right? They have real reasons to not like me. And my own family doesn't like me very much. They're liberals though, and I just kind of like I just felt, and I feel, and I'm coming out of this just spiritually bankrupt, you know. But I'm not a bitch, so I wasn't going to be like, well, I'm morally bankrupt. I was like, hey, you know, I want to for a lack of better words, I'm going to embrace. People say I'm bad. They say I'm this. What's the point of trying to become better? And I think a lot of people don't realize how much being thought of as a good person or as people's motivation for being a Christian. Like they really want to, like people become Christians. It's like, oh, now everyone will forget my sin and think I'm good. No one's ever going to think I'm a good person. In fact, everyone thinks I'm faking my faith journey right now on the internet, and people just mock me for it pretty much all the time. And I don't get a lot of support in that regard. And so I basically decided like, and I want guys to hear this. It's like, even if you do lose your marriage or you lose your family, especially if you have kids, you're still going to be a dad. Like you could be a divorced dad. You could be, your wife could die. You could be a single dad, but you got to be somebody for your kids. And most importantly, I realized in my head, I'd try to change for my wife. I'd stop drinking for a little while so that my wife would be happy and like wouldn't leave me. I had taken breaks from drinking so I could be up with my kids. I had not partied or whatever, so I could, have peace in the home or focus on work. But I had never changed to honor God, right? God was never my motivation.
That is a very big difference for anybody that doesn't realize, like distinguishing that aspect, because God is the Father of all. He's the Father of all of us. And if you're not leading your family towards God, towards Christ, towards heaven, where are you leading your family? That's a question I ask myself all the time. It's like, is what I'm doing going to take my family in the right direction where God wants it? And if not, then I need to self-reflect and figure out what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, and I think Simeon Robon said losers will complain about using the N-word and cursing, but say nothing about taking the Lord's name in vain, which will send you to hell. Oh, I don't know if that will, but maybe it will. It is a 10th commandment, but
well, and some people don't understand what that even means. There's a lack of understanding what that means. But suffice to say, in most cases, you're not using the Lord's name in vain, but you're still sinning and be like a lesser sin. But people do use the Lord's name in vain, and they need to go confess that, and they need to sort that out.
But using the Lord's name in vain too is confessing God and then denying the power within, right? Being a Zionist. Okay, anyway, but
listen, I've got a lot of analogies we could get into on that. Maybe we save that for another podcast. But there is this Cain and Abel thing going on, where Cain wants to kill Abel, right? Abel would be the Christians, and you can guess who. I'm sorry, the other way around. You know what I'm saying? Older brother wants to kill the younger brother.
You know what, man? I'm gonna choose some gum because that's where like that burst my mouth, and now I'm like, I don't like to chew gum on the podcast, but I'm gonna need to because I've been talking all day. I've been like 20 meetings and everything, and this is
you're good.
Get the dry. But long story short, I decided that I was on a plane back from El Salvador, and I kind of work behind the scenes with the El Salvador government. People don't realize I'm kind of a little more plugged in than people know. I lobby for the Republican Party. I kind of work on the back end. I work with foreign governments. I don't take money from enemies. I'm not taking money from Qatar or Russia. I've been offered money from both countries. And even recently, I mean, Snowflake and I both were offered money to lie for Israel this last week, which is absolutely nuts. And basically, so I'm kind of like studying how to instill a theocratic government and how to weaponize the Constitution. I'm going to be back in El Salvador coming up as well. And I'm there more often than people know. I actually might get a house out there. But
I think it's a good idea to get houses in multiple places. You never know if you might have to pick up your family and go somewhere. Things could get really crazy.
Yeah, there's like two good places to move as an expat: Tbilisi in Georgia, the country, and also San Salvador in El Salvador. But Um, I
Oh my goodness. No, this is totally true. We got to at least acknowledge this. Bozos on Twitter would say Elijah's faking his faith journey, but forgive a girl who had OnlyFans 1 minute ago because she's pretty. I'm just gonna say this. I can't believe Michael Knowles interviewed that woman for like 3 hours. And that's all I'm gonna say on that.
I'll just say this. Only one of our buttholes would be attractive on camera. So that's probably why. It's true, dude. Guys are weak. It's like, wow, I wonder what her butthole looks like. And then that's literally all you're thinking. And then it's like, then you forgive her. And it's like, dude, I don't even want to see my own, man. I've only had to look at it one time for a health reason, and I never want to go back. You know, that's a very, very, very dark place, figuratively and literally. God forbid I ever have to see that again. But everyone's done it, man. Where you had to bend over in the mirror to check something, and you look, and you're like,
that's what it looks like. Whoops.
Yeah. You ever see those videos where it's like the camera, you know, like just like let me see if I can get this off here. Yeah, I can get this off. So it's like it'll just be like the camera like this, look like, and it's like this is what my wife sees, and I'm like, keep going, you know. It's like that's what she sees, you know. And it's like you do realize kind of how gross we are as men, you know, just kind of like
you're like, I understand why the lights need to be off. I get it. All right.
All right. Now I get why women aren't as interested in sex as men are, you know, like it makes a lot of sense when you actually look at it like that. Yeah. So, you know, I just was on a plane back from El Salvador, and I had already been planting seeds. I've been going to a Catholic church for the last like 4 or 5 months. I want to tell people that it's not like I was just doing nothing, you know. I was listening to some like sleep meditations. I would like sometimes like go and you know, read the Bible in the morning, but I didn't think I could really be transformed and have a genuine transformation. And then God kind of met me on the plane, and I didn't know what was going on, but I kind of started to cry. But I did what guys do when they cry, where you're just like, your eyes are watering, and so you just sit there and you're like,
just trying to keep it from showing.
You act like you have like a headache, and you're just like put a hood on, and you're just like,
listen, I gotta tell you, I have a little bit of a superpower when it comes to that. My tear ducts don't work.
Oh, better than me. You're like, excuse me, I have my allergies. You're asking like the stewardess, can I get some?
No, my eyes just look like I am like stoned out of my mind when I'm trying to cry. So I just look like I just look like a stoner.
Really?
That's what I look like. Yeah.
Well, see, and I agree with you on that. I'm like, man. So then for a few weeks, I'm just gonna say this. I went and got drunk, and did something pretty stupid, nothing illegal or anything like that, but just I woke up and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to follow God while actively getting drunk. Like, because I can't do it, man. And if there's something that happens, I guess a conviction where it's like, I can't keep resetting every week, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like I can't just keep like getting drunk on a Friday and then texting who knows who, sending who knows who what, you know, no matter what it is. Maybe one weekend I'm not doing anything stupid, but it's like it's roulette, right? Getting drunk is like roulette. I would say this, that you don't always do stupid things when you're drunk, but every time you do stupid things, you're drunk.
That's pretty accurate. I put a hole in my ceiling when I was for my 30th birthday.
Yeah.
It happened.
And I wish people would stop being so like, you know, oh, back when I used to do this. I'm telling you, like, this is recent, you know? So I like drinking. I like partying. I like sometimes doing cocaine. I do like only when I'm drinking or I'm not partying. Just a couple lines, whatever. Sobers you up, you can drink more. And this sounds really weird, but just the imagery and the grandeur of the Catholic and Orthodox churches that I've been attending, you're like, God is so mighty, so great, and so many men before me. You know, I was reading about the saints and the martyrs, You know how many saints were debaucherous, man?
A lot
Just,
of them.
you know? Yeah.
There's
And I
no
just struggle with that.
there's no end to that list of saints who at one point had some serious problems.
Yeah, Butthead says, I just act like I'm having an allergic reaction to the Poojeet next to me on the plane. You know, but it's like, you know, you know, I'm not really a drug user. I'm the kind of guy though, but you go out to the club, you know, do a couple lines, drop some Molly, do something, whatever. And one time I came home, or came back to my hotel from a party about a year ago, and I was coming back in like 6 a.m. and like blood was coming out of my nose. My wife's like, "What the hell are you doing?" You know, like your kids are like waking up like babies, and you're like your blood come. You're like, you know, you're like coming off like a, you know, it's like coming off of like some coke, and you're drunk, and you're like, whatever, and I since that moment I've been thinking about it, and I've been going back and forth. But dude, right now this is the longest I've been sober in 2.5 years of my life, about 2.5 years. And if we make it a couple more weeks, this will be the longest I've been sober since 2012. Okay. And the only reason why I was sober in 2012 was because I was going to like a Bible college and we weren't allowed to like leave the campus and there was no alcohol on campus. Okay. But I still occasionally went out and smoked weed or whatever. So in theory, if I stay sober for a little while longer, this will be the longest I've been sober in 20 years, right? That's pretty severe.
Yeah, well, it's impressive though that you're getting there though too. So, you know, don't take that away from yourself.
Yeah, and I don't want to take it for granted, but I just say that as like not a boast. It's like the bar is so low, dude. The bar is so low. Like it's so low. That's crazy. And this is what sucks is I cannot drink a beer tonight. And I'm not weird. Like there's beer and wine in my fridge. Like I throw away my vodka because that's what I like. Like I'm not the kind of I like alcohol drinker where it's like, oh, dude, there's beer in my fridge, I'm gonna drink it. Like, and I don't mock people if that is. There are people who like literally you could not have a drink in your house. I don't have that. I'm more like I'll go through 3 days of stress, pissed at people, and then I'll go get blacked out drunk with the boys. Yeah, and I might not do anything crazy, but like that, you can't be spiritually healthy. Like it's like
that's hard. That's an extremely hard life to try and be spiritually healthy.
Yeah, you can't. You just like you can't, man. It's like there's a big difference of every once in a while slipping into porn and like jerking off to some 18-year-old titties versus if you've got some serious like transgender porn addiction or something like that, and you're like, you know, jerking off 5 hours a day. Like there are levels to this stuff, right? And what I did notice is that more recently is the alcohol wasn't working anymore, man. Like
on its own, or
well, I could have like six to seven, you know, shots, and the thoughts weren't going away. I was still troubled. I was still stressed. I wasn't getting drunk anymore, man. And I could drink a full bottle of vodka and it wouldn't do anything to me. Like
that's wild.
I'd just be like chilling and just like, I mean, I'd be like chilling, but I'd be like, it wouldn't fix my alcohol. Stopped masking my problems. And I'm being honest with people because I've always been honest, you know, like I don't hide this stuff. And I've always like, people are weird about this. Like, do you know Elijah drinks a lot? Like, brother, I'm the one who told you I drink. Like, you only think that I'm just not I don't have a secret addiction, you know, like
it's all out in the open, whatever.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of, cause that's the trauma from being a kid, you know, from being in church. You're like, I don't want you to think I'm a good guy. Like, I don't want that pain and burden of you being like,
yeah,
you know, oh my gosh, Elijah did something crazy. It's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, I did something crazy. Okay. What, dude? You never did that? You know, okay, you never did that. Cool. Well, like I mentioned, my mom wasn't out drinking and whatever, but she had an anger problem and that caused problems too. So sin is not unique, you know, and it's not unique to you. And it's not like, you know, yeah, of course, like, you know, I got blamed for finger blasting some chick at a Turning Point conference. That wasn't me, by the way. I'm clarifying. That was not me. I talked to the kid the other day who was the guy who did that to somebody, but you know, so like, I don't care because people just say I do crazy stuff. So I'll just, you know, I'm just kind of like, whatever. You're going to say I do crazy stuff. I'll do crazy stuff and it won't matter. But I have realized that the reason why I fell away from God is because I was looking at his church, and the church is important, right? But also as I've been coming back to God, oh, it's so important. But also like there is a lot of weird Catholic Orthodox fighting that is weird, man. That is weird stuff. Where like there are people out there that are so concerned whether I go to get baptized in the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church, but they're not asking if my heart's changing. And I'm really, really nervous. Just like I was upset the Protestant church, I was nervous to convert and to go towards this because there's a lot of these political Catholics that are peer pressuring each other to become Catholic and Orthodox out of like a club. Like it's like, dude, become Catholic, man. And it's like not asking your motivations. Like you might be becoming Catholic because your podcast host is Catholic, but are you really a Catholic? Like you might have
Intent
gone
matters.
Yeah,
Intent
are you really a
and
Catholic?
your will? Yeah, it does matter.
Correct.
There's a reason why conversion shouldn't be forced, and if somebody's telling you you have to do this, then you're being coerced. So it has to come from within, but you should be able to talk to people and have questions and actually have a conversation about where you're at. I do this with several of my friends who are Protestant, by the way, all the time. We have conversations. Really? I've never actually like, I was like, oh, come on, if you want to come on the pod, that's whatever. But I've said like, look, I will have a conversation with you anytime you want. If you're considering becoming Catholic, let's chat. And if you're not, then let's chat anyways and see where you're at and see where we need to go from there.
Yeah. And I think
I've got a lot of people that in the background, like we like people on X and in Facebook in real life that message me and ask me questions all the time. And I know some of these people will probably never become Catholic, but I'll still talk to them anyways to see where they're at spiritually, what they're doing, and how are we going to get them better. You know, like it's important that people can talk to you. Without feeling like you're going to coerce them, because coercion never works.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like, dude, and I'm not talking crap on Catholics. My point is like where I'm at in my journey is it's like, dude, I have some really incredible Catholics, Protestants, Reformed Protestants, evangelicals, and Orthodox that are really cool people that are really solid believers. And I think we've got to, I'm not into this ecumenical faith where it's like, you know, we need to have a Christian response with everyone on board. I'm not actually talking about the church needs to change, but I do want my channel to be a place to where I want people to focus on what's really important, which is knowing your Savior, Jesus Christ, and your life transforming, but it's also not faith alone. Like that. So it's like understand that the Protestants got something that a lot of Catholics and Orthodox have abandoned in pushing it as a cultural value of being culturally Catholic, culturally Christian. And that's important, but you've got to have the cultural Catholicism, cultural, orthodoxy with the personal the realization that God is genuinely working in your life. And so it's like, and I just know all these Catholics that are like, I've been a born again virgin and, I've had, Catholics like, oh, I'll suck your dick. And, it's like, but aren't you Catholic? It's like, yeah, I'm going to go to confession on Saturday. And these are girls, by the way, just to clarify.
I was going to say
like,
that's.
No, but it's like girls, it's like, I just want to blow you right now. And you're like, really? You're like hanging out with them. And then like, not saying this has happened right now, but just in my life, and it's like, as a guy, when a girl says she wants to blow you, you're like, I'm glad that we finally share a common thought, and so you're like, okay, Stacy or whatever, like, let's get at it. And then you're like, hey, I don't want to be a bad guy. Like, aren't you Catholic? Is this like against, it's like, dude, I'm going to go to confession. And then like Monday, you're like, hey, you want to blow me again? They're like, I can't, I've been absolved. And then it's like Friday and you put 2 espresso martinis in them and they've got, 7 inches of your soul down the back of their throat. And you're like,
oh my goodness.
You're like, no, but I'm being serious. And then
I understand.
You start to lose respect because then they're like, oh, I'm going to go to confession again tomorrow. And so like, just like I said, that's why I don't want to, let Catholics off the hook and let Orthodox off the hook. You're like, no, if I was being accurate, I would have said 1.5 inches.
If you're sincerely going to confession with the same priest consistently, they will work with you to try to cleanse these habits from your lifestyle. And and anytime you've had a bad habit in general and you've taken it to your priest and you have consistently honest conversations with them, they will try to help you to get out of that. And honestly, one of the biggest flexes a priest would have is convincing you to no longer do that. And then you're confessing other sins. Actually, you get deeper into your own psychology, the more sins you take out of your life. Because then you start to really see where you're at,
But I agree. And I am and
there's a lot of hypocrites at church. If there weren't, then there'd be a lot less people at church.
But dude, no one's ever, like, the public knows me, but no one's ever seen me sober-minded. And I think it's crazy because right now my brain is like healing a little bit from so much alcohol and drugs over the years that like I'm not trying to be this guy like, well, I'm just going to be like this forever. But I'm like, I think what's his name is saying that I'm a comedian. I always joke that I'm a C- level comedian. It's like I'm not a comedian. I'm just like natural, a very, very dark sense of humor. And I think you got to take the piss out of life, you know, like that's why I like, that's why I married into an Australian culture. Like I do like the British and Australian humor of like, you just kind of take the piss out of everything. You know, you're like, it's like someone dies and you're like, he's finally on time to something, you know, it's like in the casket, you know, like it's just like a time to make a joke, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I like that because Americans sometimes are just, we work too much, right? We have a kind of effed up economic system. We work
Very
too much.
workaholic based occupation.
We're always working. Ask an American, what are you doing? Oh, working, bro. Everything's
if it's not your main hustle, it's your side hustle. And if it's not your side hustle, it's your passive business where you're drop shipping stuff from China for some reason. You know, whatever it is.
We never stay on our means. We're always like you meet a guy who makes $30,000 a month. He's driving
50.
He's driving but he's driving an AMG. He's living in a big house. You find a guy who's making $10,000 a month. He's living in a 3-bedroom, you know, house that he owns. You meet a guy with $5,000 a month. He's living in a 3-bedroom apartment, not a 2. Like everybody's kind of living at their end in America, and everybody, like, besides like the Asians and people who grew up with like wealthy parents, we're all spending our money improperly. And unless someone died in your family and you inherited some money, you probably wouldn't have a lot of money in your bank account. And that's just the truth. And that's something I want to fix right now because I've been spending a lot of money of my own, and like I'm actually might be forsaking my material goods right now. It's like, you know, I just got let go of one of my biggest contracts for my views on Israel. You know, like one of my most secure ways I've always made money is now gone because of pressure from Jewish people, from the Vance admin, sort of cut off one of my main connections. And, you know, in many ways, I feel like the Jews didn't just take my money. I feel like they've taken their Antichrist religion of Judaism took my youth, you know, like I was molested as a kid, right? I've talked about that a couple times actually. And like when that happens to you as a kid, you know, it's a really terrible thing to happen. And it's sort of,
it alters your brain quite a bit.
Well, you never get to like develop your sexuality and your life normally, right? You're sort of like tainted. So it's sort of, and I feel bad for kids who get into porn really young, or if their parents show it to them. I've heard of dads like showing their kids at 7 and be like, this is a woman's body.
So strange. I can't imagine doing that as a dad.
No,
I really can't.
No. I can't either. So it's like, you know, I tell people, it's like, when you're raped as a kid, there's really, it does change your like ability to develop. So when I say with what God's doing to me is like, I've always felt like, you know what, I'm always going to probably like, maybe the reason why I'm, you know, a little bit kinky, or these things are things that like, maybe, you know, you meet these like proper Christians who are like, you know, they aren't just missionaries in Philippines. They're all into being missionaries because that's the only thing that they know is missionary. You know, that's like a lot of Christians are vanilla, but not because they're Christianity. They're just vanilla people. And so Christianity takes on this form of being vanilla, you know, where it's like, you got to be this real, you know, tightened person, where you're like not into normal things. And it's like, dude, you're a guy. You can drink whiskey if you want to. You can smoke cigars. Look, dude, God doesn't need to tell you whether cigars are bad for you. You know, dude, it's freaking smoke. We like to hurt ourselves. The men enjoy things that hurt. We enjoy sex, which can even be painful and leads to STDs if you're not useful. Or, you know, you have kids with the wrong woman. That's worse than an STD. You know, it's like, that's a problem. We love women. What the hell are those? You know what I mean? Like, those are crazy. Those are the most painful things you could ever be into. Like, women they're insane, bro. They every guy I know, 80% of their problems is just dealing with women every day. It's like, why do you think single fathers can raise kids better than single mothers? Because when there's not a woman in the house, it does create problems, and it's better to have both in the house. But without putting all your energy into keeping this woman from being pissed at you, you know, like that's so bad being married. But like when You know,
Listen,
a lot of
if my in-laws watch this, I do not have these problems with my wife, and I'm like, I really, she's awesome. Honestly, my wife is amazing. So
yeah, I keep saying that, bud. But no, we love our wives. That's not what I mean. But like,
I know,
like,
I know what you're trying to say though. Like
yeah. But
there's like
like,
a yin and a yang aspect to man and women, especially when they live together.
yeah, but it's just women just always want change and this and that and and I love it. I'm not talking shit. I love my wife. This isn't a dig at her. This is all women
No.
universally, right?
Women and men have a hard, especially men understanding women is very difficult.
Yeah, but they just want things, and it requires a lot of energy. And so when you don't have that as a single father, you could put a lot of energy into being a kid. Now, obviously, you know, I bring this down to the fact of like, you know, not just from growing up in church. I felt like I've never had a shot at being a good guy. You know, like I felt like it's like, dude, you can't unrape yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that you can't undo that. There's no undo button for that.
No, there is not. And so a lot of people just like, you have things in your life you can't undo. So it's like, I'll never fit in with these like Baptist Christians, you know? I'll never fit in with these like good people. I don't think I'll ever be seen as being a proper good guy. But something's changed, man. What I've seen in some good Catholics, some good Orthodox, I've seen real men, real men that I've never been exposed to. Like, I'm seeing men who are not perfect, who are willfully not perfect, but they've found a way to submit to God without losing their masculinity. And in fact, they've become more masculine. And I want to kind of answer an argument. I've been trying to spread this to people, you know, Officer Talmud, they call him. I don't know if you know, we talked about him earlier, Talmud Tatum.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I've never heard that nickname, but it fits.
Yeah, Officer Talmud called me crazy because I had said that America was a white nation, not a Christian nation. And the slaves were Christians, but we even had to have an amendment to make them American because Christianity is not what made them American. And he was like, yeah, that's crazy. I'm like, no, it's not crazy. It might be an unfortunate reality for you because you're black, but that's the truth. And as a Christian, you may think that's wrong, but it's the truth, right? That's
Every
what our
nation,
founding fathers wanted.
I think people forget that every nation on earth prior to the modern era was very ethno-nationalist. Just everyone was. Because you wanted to be with people that were just like you and shared culture and values and foundations. And it just makes sense that if you share actual like unchangeable characteristics, that you're more likely to be the same type of people.
Dude,
it just makes sense. It's common sense. And anybody who tries to deny that, well, you're denying like a base trait of humanity.
Well, yeah, and I say this to be open. That's what I'm hoping to do with people. Is I don't want people to think on this faith journey that I'm like I tell people, if you hear that I got drunk in the future, did something stupid, it's probably true. And I'm not setting myself up for failure. I'm not saying I'm going to do that. I'm just saying I'm accepting the real reality that you don't want to tell people like, yeah, now I'm this prim proper. I'm Gabriel Huddleston or whatever. He's a good guy. He's never cursed. He even said on the phone, he's like, I never cussed. I was like, dude, I haven't heard an adult call it cussing. You know, it's like, yeah, I never cussed. It's like, never went to a strip club. Good. But we live in a degenerate age where most guys have, right? It's like, and I can't unsee these things. And I've realized, I'm like, man, what I've come down. Someone asked in the chat what my view of the filioque is. How you say it? Filioque. Filioque.
I'm pretty sure. 90% sure on that.
I don't think I'm there yet, but I would say I probably side more with Orthodox that the Spirit proceeds from the Father, not the Son. But I don't know because I'm currently in deep discussions with some Catholic and Orthodox theologians, and I haven't made up my mind. And so, yes, people have asked, am I leaning Orthodox? Yes, but I do attend Catholic church, which is very weird. And that's the Protestant in me. I'm trying to force the religion of my own, you know. I'm one of these, I'm not going to submit, you know.
What's the funniest part about that whole argument though, is we have Eastern rites inside the Catholic Church where you can attend what looks like an Orthodox service. They don't say the filioque, and they are technically in communion with Rome. In fact, there's probably one right down the road from you, actually.
Well, yeah, and I think that I don't know enough to where the fact is I'm focused on God transforming my heart.
Yeah, no,
And
I'm just saying it's funny because there are churches that say the filioque and there are churches that don't, and both are in
Right.
communion with Rome, which is even. I found this out in the last 2
Weird.
years. So
I didn't know that, and also like the more mature Orthodox and Catholics I've talked to, like even the Orthodox are like, look, brother, we'd love you to take part in liturgy, but if you're not like if you don't have, I haven't been able to like. It's like people were like, oh, so I put out there that hey, it's really hard to attend a Orthodox liturgy with young kids, and also like
that's probably true.
I don't really know where one is, and it's far away. And then everyone, instead of like understanding what I'm saying, I get a lot of these Orthodox being like, I'm going to criticize both here. We'll be like, okay, buddy, so you want the pathway to Christ to be easy? You're like, no, that's dude, okay, let's just say this. Okay, I'm immature.
He wants a pathway to Christ before he decides to take it.
Chris, okay, so I'm immature, and I'm not convinced either way right now.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong going to. And I'm not spiritual in the Bible because I'm not convinced. I don't know. I don't have a conscience on which one is wrong. And I don't think when I talk to really like high level Orthodox who are very mature, they're not mad that I'm in a Catholic mass. The Catholics that I attend, besides I'm respectful, I don't take the sacrament. I don't take place in the Eucharist. And it makes me angry because I don't think it's wrong for me to take the Eucharist in the Catholic Church morally, but the Catholics are telling me it's wrong to do that. So
if you're not
baptized,
if you're not in communion with Rome, then you would not take communion with the Catholic Church.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I know that they're saying, but for me as a Protestant like background,
I get like, why the Protestants have a very they almost get offended by that, but it's really because it can be a soul damaging aspect of your faith if you take it when you're not. If you don't know for sure you're worthy, and if you're not confirmed.
Well,
it's actually doing you a favor by telling you not to do it, I guess.
Well, but I'm saying like I'm trying to like then not just go by what I feel, right? I'm not approaching like, well, I'm not. I call it Burger King Christianity. I'm not having it my way, right?
Right.
I'm gonna do whatever I want. So I'm trying.
Which I respect. That's the right aspect, the right way to take it. If you're trying to figure it out, then you're not just doing whatever you want.
Right. And so that's where I'm trying to bring a little bit of the honesty of the forthright nature in this, like that, hey, I don't know, but also not just being like, because I don't know, I'm going to do whatever the heck I want. I'm like, look, if I'm in the Catholic Church right now, they're telling me this, and also the Orthodox are telling me if I'm leaning Orthodox, I shouldn't either. But what's weird is I have seen the Catholics are telling me that I could take communion in the Orthodox Church. If I was Orthodox, if I'm Orthodox, they'd still let me take communion in the Catholic Church because they see us as like Catholics that have not submitted to Rome, but we are under Rome. I don't know. That's what he says. You guys are under us. He goes, you're under the papacy, whether you accept it or not. Like you are under Rome and you are baptized into the Holy Catholic Church as an Orthodox. You just are not accepting your apostolic divine order, which I don't know. I'm sure everyone disagrees on this. That's just what my priest told me, but whatever.
There's a whole conversation because when the East and the West started to come back together a little bit, they allowed all the Eastern rites to maintain their liturgy, and their priesthood was still considered valid. It was still apostolic. They had succession. So the Eastern Rite Catholics that are in communion with Rome pretty much match what the Orthodox do, except they submit to Rome. And so it does create some interesting dichotomies in the church. But at the same time, the East and West operated that way even before the split, where you had like Eastern liturgy versus the Latin liturgies. And there's actually more than one. And now it's kind of unified under the newest version, which is the Novus Ordo. But there were a lot more rites at one point in time on the East and West. And now, as time goes on, they've kind of shrunk a little bit into one.
Well, yeah, but somebody said in the chat, Haley, whatever that is, said, why would you commune with people you're not in union with? Well, that is also like the fundamental belief of communion, that I have obviously a fundamentally different belief than the Orthodox and the Catholics, which is why I'm learning about it, right? So I fundamentally don't believe, like I believe that we're in union because I've given my life to Christ and that they've given their lives to Christ and that is a union. I also like when you're asking me like, well, dude, I mean, listen, I went to seminary in the Protestant world. I have a degree in theology. Someone wants to talk about Eucharist transubstantiation. Listen, you just expect the fact that I was trained in Protestantism. So probably your answer is most of what I believe is probably most of what I've been taught, which is probably the fact that I don't believe that it's the real body and the real blood. But my point of it being is that I've seen enough areas that I've been lied to, or at least misled from the way I've been taught, that it's really not also fair to say that I actually do believe that. It's like, I kind of am like, look, I actually now don't know. So like
So are you saying you do or don't believe that the Eucharist is truly Jesus?
No, I'm saying like if you're to ask me, if you had to put me like, if I had to choose, I would say
Okay.
I don't. But if you were really to say like, it's kind of like the idea of if I had to choose gun to my head, I'd say, okay, yeah, I don't really think that. But that's not a good, accurate explanation because it's like, I'm actually saying, look, that's where my brain's at right now. My understanding of the Eucharist is here. But I also believe that I don't believe enough in what I was taught or what I was trained on that I'm accurate. Like, so I'm not like, okay, that's what it is. And the Catholics are wrong and the Orthodox are, I'm trying to understand this. And I'm praying to God, if this is real and this is what it is, then could you like, and I'm not just sitting here like, Lord, reveal it to me. I'm like, yeah. Lord, if some of these things I have to accept, that's why it's like, well, why are you not communing with them? It's like, well, because if I'm going to get baptized into one of these churches, I'm under the impression kind of now that it's okay either one to be baptized into, but I also don't want to flirt with the other. I don't want to be ecumenical. I'm not trying. You don't want to
be baptized in one and then realize you're in the wrong one.
Correct. And I don't want to Jay Dyer myself, you know.
Jay Dyer.
I don't want to Jay Dyer myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
he's
I like
an interesting guy.
And Jay Dyer can talk, you know, and that they're friends. And so, like, I'm trying not to get blasted, and you know, I'm trying to learn how to delete the tit pics that people send me on my X account and stuff like that, unsolicited, by the way. You know, or like it's like
I had to block hundreds of accounts because there's just spam.
You were getting 200 titties. 100 counts is 200 titties, sir.
I got a lot.
This is a real Christian. He blocked 200 titties.
No, I'm just glad the X actually filters these things for me. I don't have to, like, I know right away if X has a filter on a picture, I'm not clicking on it. I'm just going to delete it because I know it's not going to be something I should be looking at.
I got into a conversation once with an Anon account that I thought was a guy. And they were like, yeah, like, well, do you want to see who I am? I was like, oh, sure, you can show me who I am. And it was like,
you're like, wait a second.
Their fingers weren't in the Bible, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow.
Oh,
well, no. Blocking that, you know, geez. No, it's crazy. But I don't know if I'm ever gonna get super theological. Maybe I will. I think that's more of a private thing for me. Like I think I don't want to put a time limit on it, but like I am talking to both Orthodox and Catholic about what is it called? Sorry, I remember. So with Orthodox, it's catechumen. What is it for? It's the other thing for Catholic that you join to learn.
You're talking about OCIA?
Yeah.
So you're still technically a catechumen either way, regardless of which one you would go to, because the catechumen just means you're in the process of becoming part of the faith. That's all that means.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a name for the Orthodox one, is there? I thought it's just catechumen. You just become a catechumen.
Probably. That's probably true. I don't know enough about their process of initiation. I do know that it's different, though.
Traditional Augustine, we are going to have a theology show. Joel Webbin's leading it, and he's going to be talking with Orthodox and Catholics on it. So that is actually one of his things. He's going to be talking about. He might be one of the only Protestants who like admits that Protestantism might actually be wrong. He's like kind of said that. He's like, it is kind of like probably not the truth. And I think he's got a lot. You know, it's hard when you're a pastor. Like, you know, someone said, I'm just going to assume you guys are referring to small songbirds. Yes, we are. So where are we at now, though, man? Because I don't want to take too much of your night here, but
this has been very open as far as like where you're at. I see kind of some of the issues you're dealing with right now, theologically, logically, etc. I guess I'm just going to offer that I'm definitely going to be praying for you going forward. because this is a very tough decision to make, especially considering you're talking about your salvation and your faith and your relationship with God. And that's very serious, and a lot of people don't take that seriously, or they like, for example, the ortho bros online are like they're very interesting because they're like a demographic within the Orthodox Church that's very online, kind of like the Groypers for Catholicism. Although the ortho bros are a little more composed online than the Groypers are. I've noticed the ones I've interacted with. Like,
Dude,
they
are pretty wild. The ortho bros are a little
like
bit
Christian Mario is a cool dude. I do enjoy him. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah. I know these guys.
So
I know these guys. Yeah. So kind of summarize it, man. I'm gonna go smoke a cigar. Let me show you right here. You know, I'm a big cigar connoisseur. I'm gonna start back my my cigar streams. You know, of course, you
should invite Christian Wagner to talk to you sometime. I don't know if you know who that is or not.
No, I don't. But if you send me his information, I will. See this? This is a Monte Cristo. Are we allowed to show tobacco products on your show? Is that a sin or something?
I don't care. I've had my fair share of tobacco products over the years. So
okay, so I hope God doesn't make me take this out of my life. I love this. Monte Cristo is a 1935 anniversary edition. I'll probably have one of these later, but I want to show you something very important here. Noticer, who was in the chat, who's one of the guys that watches my show as well. We got a few of the guys in there. This one he gave to me, which I'm going to pull it out of it. Okay. This is the most insane thing. And I have a reason why I'm showing this. I smoke these most nights. If people don't know, let me turn that blur off. Where's this thing? So there's a guy too where I was trying to talk about theology. So some people just wanted some recommendations on cigars. This is the Padron Presidente, and you know it's nice because it comes in a metal box. You know you're bougie.
Well, that's metal. Nice.
Like, look at that. It's actually metal, you know?
That's cool.
It's like, so you open it up. Yeah, it's like aluminum or whatever on the inside. So you got the Presidente. This is honestly my daily smoke. I really love this. It's Padron, if anyone's used to this. It is the 1964 anniversary series. And besides Cubans, which I smoked a lot of while living overseas, obviously they're banned here. This is just up there with the best daily smoke. If you're watching this and you're one of my longtime viewers and you want one of these, I'll mail you one. I'm mailing out some cigars to people. Let me know. I'll mail you one. I have a few. If you're looking for something cheaper, I'm just giving you a little advice. These are Oliva, I think they're pronounced. These are like probably as close to Padrones as you can get for under $25. They're like 10 or 15. But this will change your entire life. This is a Padron Special Edition black label, and this turns your brain into Jello. No, but this is
turns your brain into Jello.
No, but like jokes aside, it's like actually a really my friend loves these Maduros, these real dark wraps, and there's a big difference in them, and they really do. They're a nice chill thing. And the reason why I like cigars, and the reason why I think men like them, is because we like the ability to be doing something while also slowing down our mind, right? We like, and anything that encourages deep conversation, we love. That's why men love whiskey. You know, it's like this, like have a couple glasses of whiskey, slow down, get into some real talk.
I like to take my bros on the back deck and smoke cigars for a couple hours. That's what I like to do.
Oh, okay, that was a bad start. Take my bros on the back deck. All right.
Wait a second.
Before Christ, before your wife know about this.
Oh man.
No, but jokes aside, no, like I'm with you on that. It's like, yeah, there's nothing better that I love than hanging out with my mates and just smoking a 90-minute cigar like that, slowing down and just talking about life. And I want to encourage anyone who's here. I want to encourage anyone who's watching, anyone who's just feeling the weight and the pain of life, is like, please as a man, remember to just be a real person. And like, God is good and everything, but like, you don't have to smoke cigars. You don't have to drink whiskey. You may just drink sparkling water. You may just make sure you're taking time to slow down, you're taking time to pray, to think. And sometimes even like like go on social media in those times, but in a way that's like helpful. Like maybe just go next. Like actually, like, no, you're not going to get an argument. Just go to look at what's happening, kind of like for your family, grasp kind of what's going on in the world. You do that as a man. It's kind of your job to kind of know what's happening in the world, right? Kind of like,
but you don't need to alarm your wife all the time, bringing the news home to her.
Dude, my wife wants to move to Texas, and I might. And I was cracking up because she was like, baby, please, let's just like move to Texas. Like, this is a spot I want to move to. And then she was like, can we just go right now? And for like, I did this thing you shouldn't do when your wife's excited. For like 3 minutes only, I explained like how complicated it would be to get to Texas right now. I'm like, okay, look, well, this guy put $250,000 in the business, and this guy owns 60%, and has put $3 million, and then we'd have to get a board meeting together, and then we'd have to like also figure out relocating, and yada yada yada, and then I have this car, we have to sell your car, then combine the loans into a balloon loan, get a different car over there because we're not going to ship it, and then I got to talk to my friend Chris, and he's going to tell us about the cost, and probably about 12 to 15,000, but we could probably get down to 9,000. We'd probably have to sell 30% of our furniture. We have to figure out what we don't want, and then I bought this new patio furniture, so we have to find a deck about this large to fit the furniture. She goes, I just don't understand. Why you're making me sad? And I'm like, well, do you want me to provide for the family? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, like, you're asking me to move states and stuff. I'm saying we could do it. I'm just explaining to you the complicated nature of what that looks like. It's like, well, in the past, you've just been able to get up and go. I'm like, yeah, when I was like 25. But now we have like a C Corp with like millions of dollars of investors and like in dozens of employees. And there's a lot of things here that are not just get up and go.
Right.
And it's like, and she's like, but no, so we're never going to go. And I'm not going to say anything else. It's all in private conversation. That's just like, that's a very summary of what she said. I'll never really say what my wife says in private. But I'm like, no, I'm saying we can go. I'm just saying
it's complicated to do it.
It's not like this is how you work with women. I go, how about this? You don't get discouraged. Let's sit together tomorrow and I will list out to you all the roadblocks that would prevent that. And we can decide whether those roadblocks are worth tackling or not as a team. And then we can decide if we want to, and I'll report back to you if they're being tackled or not without including the details of why they aren't. And she's like, that works. And I'm like, yeah, women can't handle what men handle. Women can't support what men support. They can't carry what we carry. So if you feel like your wife is being a naggy and bitchy, and it's because they're feeling anxiety, right? Because they're feeling insecure, unstable. They're feeling so like, my only advice is like, make sure and this is from experience, make sure that you work out the guy said, wouldn't recommend Texas. Yeah, I lived in Texas. I don't recommend it either. We'd only be going there for the fact that it's just cheaper to run the business out of there right now. That's it. Just to be able to help the employees live a little easier. And also like, cause 60K out in Texas is decent, 60K in Florida is you're dying. You need like 100K in Florida, but and also like they have a direct flight from DFW to Australia. So it's a lot easier to get back and forth and just kind of get around. However, really remember that as a man, you don't need to suffer. And you're probably suffering like I was because I wasn't living up to my leadership capabilities because, I wanted to get drunk to deal with my problems. And I wanted to, have a marriage like this. It's all I. And none of it was like, yeah, but who is the real Elijah Schaffer? And if can I handle life? Yes, but I can't handle life on my terms. I'm going to have to handle life on life's terms because life doesn't negotiate. And I can do it the easy way or the hard way. The easy way is honestly copping out, drinking, doing whatever you want, and just, expecting the different results. It's called insanity, but you're just whatever. The hard way is to admit that, the reason why alcohol is cheap and it's on the counter, the reason why your porn is easy to access, the reason why these things are easy to access is because you don't pay now, you pay later, right? You don't. You pay they always say alcohol is paying with tomorrow's joy. That's why it feels so good to be drunk, because you're paying with tomorrow's joy. The reason why porn feels so great in the moment is because you're literally depleting your ability to feel satisfied with your sexual partner and with your own life. Like these things are stealing. It's you're
it's stealing parts of your soul every time you do these things.
Exactly. You're paying with your eternity, but most importantly, it's like your sexual pleasure tonight is going to steal from your sexual pleasure with your wife tomorrow. And your hookup today will take away from the enjoyment of your wife a year from now if you haven't met her yet. Like you're paying with your future satisfaction and joy, and that builds up as a man. You become numb. you become dead inside and you lose the life in you. Don't be a guy that's dead inside. Be a guy full of life. And just know I'm not coming at you, to anyone here to preach at you. I'm just telling with you, man. I am so great to be saved by God tonight. That doesn't mean that because I'm saved by God that I'm not, not that I'm not, like, that I can't just go, turn porn on after this and go on a 5-hour goon session. It doesn't mean I can't go out and get drunk at a bar right now. It doesn't mean I can't be a complete hypocrite, but also doesn't mean that I'm not going to be a struggling Christian. That I'm not going to, that maybe it's not 5 hours, it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's not getting drunk, but maybe it's getting high or whatever it is. I'm not here to say that I've overcome my flesh entirely, but Christ has overcome my flesh, and Christ did. And so I have that joy that I can at least know that just like I can give into my flesh, I also cannot, because I can pair up with God today and believe in the finished work of the cross and not let that control me. And I'm so happy, man. So I'm not just like, it's like, yeah, man, I'm happy in the Lord. Though I feel like people around me have failed me massively, and I feel like I'm in some battles ahead that are just like impossible to overcome. And a lot of it's my fault, and that's even harder to admit, a lot of the stuff's wrong because I didn't lead well, or I didn't lead my marriage well. And I haven't led my office the way that I should have. And a lot of things I can at least not be stuck. And that's what the devil's trying to remind me of. Look what you didn't do. Look what you've done and what you haven't done. And God's saying, here's what we can do. And what we can do is based on what he's already completed. So God, the devil's trying to make you look at the near future and the near past. God's like, look at the finished victory. And then let's look towards the long-term plan here. Progress, not perfection, one day at a time, seeking to live for God. And just we don't want it to be complicated. Maybe you believe in, transubstantiation or the filioque, and you don't know. That's all important, and I'm not going to determine that. But if you don't have the basics down, like the Protestants got right, faith is important, and that is so vital to focus on. But where I think they got it wrong is, obviously you got to have the body of Christ, and you got to be plugged in. You got to be baptized. You got to be under authority. You got to be under leadership, right? These are all things that, we don't want to abandon. Just know I love you. Don't get lost in the sauce, in the religion, or in the debauchery. Just find yourself in Christ, lose yourself that you may find it, that kind of idea. And, keep things, they always say, right? Hey, stupid, keep it simple, just keep it simple. It isn't as complicated as you think. God gave us religion as a blessing, not as a curse. So don't let it be a weight. It's fun to have something that you can learn about that isn't just debauchery and sin and porn and smut and, coarse jesting. Like you can go, there's great things you can research and study that about the mysteries and wonders of the world, but don't burden people with it either, man. And please stop burdening me with it, people. Like I appreciate your heart, but let's celebrate the love of Christ together. Maybe the Catholics are going to kill me, but I think the Catholics and Orthodox are both going to heaven if their hearts are changed by God. And yes, I'll say this, even the Protestants that really are following God, have given their hearts to him. They may not be in complete obedience. They may not be choosing the easiest route. And it may have led a lot of people astray, and they might need to give an account for that as well. But I do believe give your heart, soul, mind, and strength to God. Lean not on your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all of your ways. And God says, I will direct your path. To the Orthodox, to the Catholic, to the Protestant, to those who give their lives to him, God says he will account judgment to you to that of knowledge of which you know. So, if you do believe Catholicism is the right way and the true way to the church, and you're running away from that, you're in disobedience, and you need to come back to the church. You need to come back to your leadership. You need to come back to Christ. And I'd say the same thing in, where it is. And if you think the other people are wrong, pray for them that, that they might not complicate their pathway to salvation, to faith, and might stay focused on the race to which they were called. My name is Elijah Schaffer. Feel free to watch my show. It's called The Rift. It's I have a new YouTube video out, which is like kind of dumb. I have this channel that's cooked called Slightly Offensive as well. I'll just throw that in the chat. It's cooked, man. They destroyed it, but I've decided
I'll have all of your channels in a pinned comment for people to come get at.
Oh,
so
cool. Yeah, check it out.
And then additionally, I just want to say this: like, if you're not praying for your enemies, then you're not following the commandments of Jesus. He wants us to pray for our enemies, especially our enemies, because they're only your enemies because they're not on the team. They're not Christian.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone. I was gonna say, what is this? I'll join you. I just a cigar. Shout out to other people I didn't say up hi to, the Giga Doomer.
Yeah, Giga Doomer, Simeon Rabin,
Lauren Savage, Mostly Peaceful Combat Vet, and the rest of you guys. Sane Millennial is back in too.
Shout out to my mods, especially Hallelujah.
Subscribe to this channel.
Appreciate that.
To this channel. I'm gonna subscribe to right now.
Anyway, I'm gonna get you in touch with Christian Wagner one way or another. You do need to talk to him. I think you'd have a good conversation.
Hey, I think we got like 10 subs too, 9 or 10 subs from this. This is good.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And if you want to have a conversation in the future, online or offline, I'm absolutely available to do that. So
thanks, brother. I appreciate it. And also, yeah, and then random tip for the podcast. If you click through sometimes the layouts, like if you do like where we're full screen vertical and you go between the two and sometimes put the other person full screen, you'll get longer view. Like if you do that and then you switch to the other one, like every like couple minutes switch, and then you switch sometimes me full screen, sometimes you full screen, your viewership will your retention will go up like 40% on your videos.
I don't know how I switched to you though.
Yeah, you should just click on the little gray button above on my picture, like on the bottom.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, like that. So if you do that, and you switch, I know it's kind of annoying as a podcast host, and like you can get a stream deck that you can put those buttons on, which I would think I'd consider buying a stream deck. Actually, I don't know if you know what that is. Do you know what that is? Yes, no.
I do know what a stream deck is.
Yeah, I would consider investing in a stream deck, and if you press those, but you can assign the buttons to the stream deck, so you don't have to be like, you can just be like looking and then use your thumb magic. There's also this like. There's also this. Let me see if I can find it real fast. I'm just gonna put this in here real fast. There's this. Let me see. Ergonomic controller computer. There's this. Let me see. Is this like a? Let me see. It's like a MIDI. Let me see. Ergonomic, like MIDI.
I do actually have a programmable MIDI keyboard that I've used for stuff like that in the past.
Yeah, I don't know where they have cheaper ones than Stream Decks, by the way. But there's this really cool one.
This will do it.
Yeah, you could do that. That's true. But I also would just like
my keyboard.
This one is like cheap. I'm putting it in the chat here. If anyone ever wants to stream or anything, this one's in the chat, and you can let me see if that should work, right? I think so. I guess you can't put those in the thing.
My computer just opened up Steam
for Elijah over Shapiro, yada yada yada. Someone said I missed the drunken live streams. Yeah. Maybe unfortunately, one will come back eventually. No, I'm kidding. We're hoping not. But
listen, the only way you could convince me to host. Am I muted? Oh no, I'm not. Okay. Because the only way I would host Shapiro is if he would like deciding to come on. Am I muted?
No, you're good.
On a second.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me or not? Oh, okay. I was just gonna say the only way I'd host Shapiro is if he was like actually considering Christianity, and we were gonna talk about that. Because as of right now, I don't know what conversation I would have with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
about Elijah over Shapiro.
No, and I'm happy too. By the way, my video today on YouTube got almost 5,000 views, and hopefully it'll get like 10,000 views. And I'm hoping that we can get back to getting like 7,000 to 10,000 views on the videos. And if we do, then I'll start releasing them more often. But if you ever want to come chat on that channel about something that's a real casual thing like this, where we just kind of chat, let me know too. Talk to my guy, and I'll get you. And I'm trying to that's the goal of that channel is going to be to have my personal vlogs and then showcase newer or emerging creators who may not fly in or may not make sense with the budget or whatever, but we want to showcase. So it's like, maybe if you're Ben Shapiro, 10,000 views doesn't really matter, but a podcast like this, a 10,000 view video is definitely going to help for sure shed and expose light. So let's keep that up, and let me know if you ever want to come on Slightly Offensive on that. We're kind of bringing back the vibe there, and I'd love to have you on. Then if you do well there, then I'm going to bring people that do well there onto the Rift and kind of like, schedule from there. So we're going to kind of use it as a test for guests, which I think is kind of cool. So appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm so happy to be on.
Thank you for coming on.
Blessing, man, and a huge honor. And I'm glad you let me yap and just waste your audience's time.
It's never a waste of time when we're talking about Christianity and especially manhood. So
absolutely, brother. All right, cheers, mate.
Yep, I'm gonna hit the end stream button, and I'll see you guys all on the next one. I'll be Monday. We're gonna be talking with the ex-Mormon, so should be fun. See you guys later.